Good morning. This is our inaugural talk from Kali's Brood. The topic being age of Kshatriyahood. Now, before we get to the talk, I just want to mention a few words about Kali's Brood, on who we are, what we do. Kali's Brood is an initiative from disciples of Sri Aurobindo. That is Murli and myself. My name is Mahesh. Now, we started this organization entity almost, I think, 5-6 years back. Our aim was to share some of the experiences and ideas that have occurred to us, come to us in the course of our sadhana. Now, the sadhana specifically is Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, coupled with a lot of elements from the Veda and so on. So today's talk is about the age of Kshatriyahood. So I'm going to begin this thing. This talk, we're going to be having two timelines. So I want you to imagine two timelines. The first timeline starts in the prehistoric time period of life itself. That's the first timeline. And the second timeline is events that are occurring in a modern current context. So I'll be crisscrossing between these two timelines. So I want you to be a little patient and perhaps pay a little attention, because without a visual aid, it might be tricky to follow the line of thought that we are trying to present today. So, as I said, one timeline reaching back into the prehistoric past when life began, and another in the current context. So let me start with the current context. So even if you're a casual, superficial observer of the world, you'll realize that something is not quite right with the world. What do we mean by something is not quite right with the world? What we mean is everywhere you see there is a great destruction. There is the world order that's being turned upside down. Now, based on your standpoint, a Modi being Prime Minister in India could be, to you, end of the world. As it is in, let's say, America, where Trump is heading, and there's a bunch of people who think it's the end of the world. Now, we do not know what is the end of the world, but we do know, even in our very personal contexts, we do know that something is never right. There is the world order being turned upside down. And this chaos extends from you, the individual, to society, to life as a whole. Nothing is spared. It is not just you who's in difficulty. Even the elephant that roams the forests finds its lands being stolen, right? It doesn't have place to graze, to go eat, to live. So this disorder is everywhere. Now, who caused it, what caused it, we do not know. Based on where you're beginning, the cause could be Modi being there. The cause could be Trump in the White House or whatever, and so on. But this disorder that seems so acute to us today is not new. This disorder is not new. This discomfort, the struggle to exist is not new, right? That's our perspective. Now, I'll leave the current times here and shift back into the prehistoric past. Now, I want you to imagine this, right? I want you to imagine a time period just a mere, let's say, 5,000 years ago. There was a large battle that was about to occur. And on that large battlefield, we had two people who stood on the very brink of the battlefield, on the brink of war. The two people pondered this question: how to move forward? What's the yardstick of conduct? How do I know what is right and what is wrong? Right? Now, that battlefield was the Kurukshetra, and today we see that the Kurukshetra is everywhere. You are at war, you are surrounded, whether you know it or not, you're surrounded by the forces of chaos, the forces of destruction, the forces of falsehood. Now that's 5,000 years back. But even that is not new. Even that is not new. Why is it not new? It's not new because you extend that timeline still further back into the past. Right? Now we hopped around 5,000, 7,000 years back. Let's hop a few 100 million years back, right? Just let's go back in time. Now, I want you to imagine a time where Earth, creation, was just waters. It's just water everywhere. The first life form has taken birth in the sea. You had your fishes, all of them evolved. Now, I want you to imagine what would have happened in that watery world, right? Amongst the millions and millions of species of life forms in the sea, the first life form in the sea, you had one brave fish, right? You had one brave fish that said, what's beyond this water? What's that I see? I see something, right? It sees a very blurry, white thing, diffused. It doesn't know what it is, right? Because all that it has done in its entire life is to be in the sea. Now there was this one brave fish, we presume, which said, let me check what's there, right? It swam up and stuck its head out of water, right? Now what do you guess would have happened to the fish? A fish which is used to existing in the water sticks its head out into the air, and it finds itself in a place and time that is unlike anything that it has known. But to the fish, that moment must be the moment it must have confronted death, right? To the fish, air is death. But this fish stuck its head out. It said, let me see. Now, that, we presume, must be the experience of the very first fish. That impulse, that curiosity to see what is there and not just to exist, right? That's the first act that I want to register in your minds, right? Fast forward a few million years, right? Fast forward a few million years, life in the sea has evolved. The first fish walked out of water. It grew limbs. It climbed trees. It produced the simian. Life has evolved. Now, we'd like to look at the stage where the simian is no longer just the simian. The monkey is no longer just the monkey. The monkey has become something more. The monkey has become something more. Now, how do we know that it became something more? We know it because logically, even if you observe that stunted branch of evolution of the monkey, you see that the monkey is capable of social life, this and that and whatnot, right? Now, there must have been a time where one particular branch of this species, and I won't use a technical term, I'll just call it the man monkey, right? It's not it man, it is the man monkey, right? The man monkey, with all his social life, what must have been that first moment when it confronted something that it didn't understand? Now remember, the life of the animal is driven by instinct, it's vital instinct. That instinct has its knowledge. The lion cub doesn't learn like you and I, right? It has its instinct. That instinct has its knowledge, right? It doesn't need to be taught how to hunt. It figures it out, right? So intelligence is there, but involved in the vital. Now, this first man monkey, imagine a time where when its partner has just dropped dead. A female monkey has just dropped dead, right? The animal is capable of emotion. It grieves. Now, what must have been that moment like? I want us to imagine that, right? That moment must have been a moment where the man monkey doesn't have active thought. There's no active thought as it. Not the deliberate, conscious thinker. Man the thinker has not yet arrived. There is only the man monkey, and which is confronting death, right? Now, how does it confront death? How does it even register that something has passed away? It doesn't understand it yet. Here's the dear female monkey that was there. It's dropped dead. The man monkey knows by instinct. The man monkey knows by instinct that something's gone wrong. This is a lifeless dead body that's lying there, right? And it recognizes that this person, whoever that person was, that female monkey was, has disappeared. The body is there, but something is gone. Now, this absence of life was another recognition of death. Now, remember where you started. You started with the fish being curious. The fish being curious, saying, what's there? Let me stick my neck out and see. Let me stick my head out and see. That's the first. And the man monkey confronting death by recognizing the absence of life. It says something is missing here. It's gone. Whatever was there was gone. It's no longer the same, right? The second instance. Again, fast forward a few more million years. Somewhere on the banks of the Saraswati, of river Saraswati, somewhere on the banks of Saraswati, we presume, there was this seeker who had exhausted the possibilities of life. He has worked, he has accomplished, but nothing seems to satisfy the seeker. So, what does he do? Nothing makes him happy. Very similar, very, very similar to where you and I are, but nothing seems to make him happy. And this guy is curious, right? He's sort of curious because all the works that he has done, all that he has accomplished, it leaves him unsatisfied. There's something in him that tells him that there's something more. There's more. But he doesn't know. Now you're looking at a very, very early stage of humanity, right? You don't have the social systems or knowledge systems, and everything that you and I take for granted today don't exist. Now this is man, the tribal perhaps, he's in his little settlements. In his settlements he has accomplished stuff, in his settlements. We don't want him to build cities or anything like that. He's married, he has made kids, he has won wars, he has kept his people comfortable, he has protected his people. That's the stage. It leaves him unhappy, just like us, not very different. He doesn't know what to do, right? Now, we imagine one such person must have stood up and said, one such person must have wondered, what is this enormity that we call as life, this creation, right? What is this? How do you address this, right? Now, is there something that can answer my query? Who's going to answer me? I have this deep-rooted need. I have this need that can't be satisfied. I have this impulse, this urge that cannot be answered. Is there someone who can answer me, right? Now, we like to think of it, when I say we Sri Aurobindo's disciples, us, we like to think of this as one of the most auspicious moments in the history of evolution. It is not Einstein, it is not Socrates, it is not Vyasa, it is not Valmiki, right? They come much, much later. Much, much later. There was one auspicious moment in the history of time, in evolution, where one man or woman on the banks of Saraswati said, "Whom do I call? Is there somebody? Is there somebody who could answer my urge?" Right? Now, that whom do I call at a time and place where there's no notion of a God, there's nothing. There's nothing. You are posing the first big question in all of life, the very first big question, whom do I call? Now, we have a hypothesis on what could have likely happened, what might have happened. Our hypothesis is this: as this man who is literally burning with an eagerness, burning with an intensity of his own being, he's literally heated up, right? And he's looking at this question, whom do I call? What is this enormity? Can I get an answer? Who is this? What is this? Is it one person? Is it many? All the fundamental questions must have come, right? But here's the key trick. This is what, as I like to call it, as I like to think of it, the most auspicious moment in the history of evolution. What was that auspicious moment? In the seeker's mind, in a flash came an idea, a knowledge, a perception, in a flash, like a lightning in a darkened night sky, right? There was a flash of what we now know as intuition, but in that early mind, there must have been a flash which had said, this urge in me that wants to know. He said, maybe it is the deity. Maybe there is something in me that knows that there's something worth questing for. And he decided, to this should go my first worship. My first worship goes to the urge in me that is not satisfied. And now that urge, he offered his first obeisance, his first prayer, first worship. Now, this point in time is so finely tangled, right? What do I call it tangled? Because this intensity of his seeking had reached a threshold, and there was already an implicit response that came from above. The intuition is the result of his seeking. The intuition came because he was ready. His being was heated enough that it elicited a response from somewhere. And as I said, we like to think of this as the most auspicious moment in all of evolution, right? Because life that began from, let's say, the fish and the man-monkey and whatnot had come to this particular level, let's think of it that way, right? Had come to this level where it could consciously seek what the fish unconsciously did, what the man-monkey unconsciously felt. Here was man saying, I want to know, this is conscious. And in response to this conscious seeking, there was an answer. The answer, right? And this this auspicious moment, we'll keep this here. We'll fast forward another few tens of thousands of years perhaps, right? Or maybe 10,000 years, I don't know, right? Again, on the banks of the Saraswati, there was a warrior. He was a warrior priest, right? And he has this beautiful name, friend of the worlds, right? Vishwamitra. Now, Vishwamitra, he is confronted the same question. He is accomplished, but yet something is not satisfied. He wants more and more and more, and he's not stopping, right? Now, Vishwamitra articulates the first conscious, the very first perfect conscious prayer rendered to this impulse that urged the fish, that urged the man-monkey, that urged the seeker, all of that seekings. It was Vishwamitra who formulated, or rather heard, by means of the Shruti, right? Shruti, that which is heard. He heard his conscious aspiration take shape and given a perfect form by way of the very first mantra of the Rig Veda. Now Vyasa, when he compiled, when he had literally tens and twenties of rishis whose work he wanted to compile and put the Veda, Vyasa is not a fool, right? Not by any means, nor is he an arbitrary fellow, right? What does Vyasa do? Vyasa puts the very first invocation of the Veda as a hymn to Agni. Agni, that was the most perfect articulation of an impulse that was present in all of life. And there was this one man. There were many after Vishwamitra who had formulated or heard hymns to Agni, many more, right? But who stands on top? The most lucid, the most luminous, there stands Vishwamitra with his hymn to Agni. What is the hymn to Agni? The very first hymn, I'm not very great at Sanskrit, but it says, and I just paraphrase, right? It's not a literal translation. It says, Vishwamitra says, you are the priest, O Agni. You are the traveler. You are the leader of my journey. You are the leader. Now, by the time Vishwamitra formulated this, look at the amount of distance that you have traveled. All of existence expresses its worship in 2 lines of poem that emerges from the quest of the seeker. A life has responded, the divine, or whatever you want to call it, right, has responded, and out comes this prayer, right, into Agni. Now, let's think about what is that trait in all of these examples. What is the trait that unites all of them? Just think about it for a moment or two, right? The fish, the man-monkey, the prehistoric seeker, and Vishwamitra. There's a particular trait that connects all of these. There's a trait that connects all of these. And the way we, again, as someone aligned to Sri Aurobindo's thought or style of thinking, we look at these, we not just look, right, we consider these as the manifestation of a specific type of impulse. Specific type, it's very clear, this trait is very clear. If you look at it conventionally, you call this the heroic trait, right? It's the hero. There was the fish, which was a hero, which said, let me see, let me peek my head out. Death, I don't care. I'll go. I'll venture out. First guy. Now, the man-monkey, you might think it's a different it's not heroic, but no, that's one of the most heroic things you could do. And what was the heroic thing there? You loved, you lost, and you held that pain. You held that absence of life. You held that pain. You grieved. You suffered, not consciously, unconsciously, but you held. It's as if someone went and caught hold of a hot block of glowing coal, right? That pain, that fire, you held it in your hand. In your instinct, you held it, and you didn't mind the pain, right? It's easy to ignore, to forget, and to just go on. But no, there was one monkey who said, no, I'm latching onto this pain. What is there? I loved it. It has no business to leave me, right? Act of heroism, right? And the same thing with the seeker, with the prehistoric seeker, the guy who, against the opposition in his own head, there is no guru, there is no priest, there is nobody, there's nothing. You had the problem, and you had the courage to confront the problem and to look at it continuously, intensity, again and again, day in and day out, dawn and dusk, dawn and dusk. Your intensity just grew. You didn't say, let me go pick another, go hunt another tribe, pull the girl from there, be happy, have a few more children. No, you didn't do that, right? You said, this question, I'm going to look at it, right? I'm not going to leave it. All of these traits, these heroic traits, prehistoric India, Bharat, understood this question, understood this trait. It said, this is the temper of the Kshatriya, right? Now, a lot of us are used to looking at the word Kshatriya or Brahmana or Vaishya or Shudra in terms of the Varnas, right? It's the much maligned Varna system, right? But Sri Aurobindo takes a different view. He says these are traits, these are various combinations of the three gunas, Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. These three gunas in various combinations, when manifest in life, has its time and place to support life as it is. And one of the most important traits is the trait of the Kshatriya, or this quality, this type of power, this action, Kshatriyahood. Kshatriyahood. Kshatriyahood is not taking weapons and walking on the street and shouting Jai Bajrang Bali or whatever, right? It's not that. Kshatriyahood is a trait, it's a quality, it's the temper of the hero. And this temper of the hero doesn't just manifest in men, not just in humans, right? It manifests everywhere, right? If you have ever had a pet, let's say a female dog, right? And when it has laid a litter or cubs or whatever, try going near the cubs. It'll maul you, and it has no fear. That's the heroic temper. The heroic temper, it's there everywhere. The sparrow will fight the eagle to defend its children. It'll do it. It's there in nature. It's not for men alone. It's not for humans alone. It's there everywhere. And this trait is called, we like to call it Kshatriyahood, which is one of the powers that the whole of the cosmos has manifested to support life, to support evolution. Life is not just, I got up in the morning, I switch on my washing machine, I got my work done. No, if you have not seen the difficulties of life, it means either you're blind or your intellect is not sufficiently sharpened to understand the challenges of existence, right? Life is a struggle. At every moment, it is a struggle. It's a great struggle. If you zoom out and look at the whole of the cosmos, you won't see a garden, right? You won't see, I don't know, any of your